Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to News and Views with Fazl and Franceman Taleb. In this segment, we're going to be talking gang violence and specifically gang violence on the Cape Flats. We know that from senseless violence to the loss of innocent lives, the situation on the Cape Flats concurrently requires our attention. It requires our focus. And very often we see spikes of violence at different parts of the year. And during the down times, very often it is easy for people to forget that there are situations happening in these communities and that communities are living in some level of fear. So, to discuss this and other gang related issues, we have Cassiem Parker, who's an executive member and legal advisor for PAGAD, which is the People Against Gangsterism and Drugs. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Cassiem, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So,
Shukran for having us.
no problem, no problem. So, Brother Cassiem, we see generally that sometimes the media focuses on gang violence, and usually it happens when there's a child, particularly that has passed away or been caught in gang in crossfire. But obviously, we know that what is not on the when it's not on the media screen, when it's not on our phones, there's still situations and things taking place. How do we amplify the reality on the ground to raise awareness on the one side so that more action can be taken?
First, I think even just your introduction is so welcoming because, as you say, media houses and even organizations tend to only inflate the issue when there's some major incident that happened or when it affects somebody that is high profile. And therefore it's important that we keep people informed. How do we do it? I think it's just to be honest and continuously work and ensure that people are are encouraged to stay in the loop. The essence of how people operate is when it doesn't affect them directly, as in it hasn't affected their family member, then they make as if it's not there. And I think your question today is to ask people. The question that we need to ask ourselves is, why is gang violence still prevalent? What is the end? Why does it happen?
Mm,
Because it doesn't just happen. It happens for a reason. And maybe the last thing is, how are we going to stop it? Um, the issue really is that in the Cape Flats, we believe that there are probably three main reasons for it, and even these ones are quite wide. And the one that most people might know is that it's there to support the drug trade. In that there's a turf that a drug dealer has in a particular, whether it's a street or a community or in an area, then that drug dealer wants to carry on his business and he wants exclusive use of that business. And therefore what he has is a couple of strong or stupid or drugged people around him, and they prepared to work so that his area remains his.
mm,
And that's a scourge that is in the Cape Flats for a long time, and it's still gonna be there until we do something serious about it. And the we is what we want to talk about. The second part that we can't turn a blind eye to is there are gangs and gangsters that are there to provide protection for corrupt capital. In that,
mm,
things like the construction mafia, things like business people who do deals and they need themselves to be defended. Those are there are gangs in areas that are actually operating in order to ensure that they get the tenders, that if anybody else gets
mm,
a job, that they will make it difficult for somebody else. And this also rolls itself out in Cape Flats and the greater Cape Town. And the
mm,
third one is, which I know happens actually systematically across the country. It's gangs that are there in various forms to support political control, corrupt political control in
Mm,
areas. You would, for example, go into an area where people call for assistance of whatever nature, whether it is for security, whether it is for social support. And when you are confronted by somebody that says, I'm the counselor in the area, you can't operate
mm,
in my area if you don't come through me.
mm,
And when you ask them about it, they present to you not a logical argument, but an
mm,
argument of 12 guys getting out of a taxi bus to tell you, you know what, you can't just be here. That's also
mm,
gangsterism, and that gangsterism supports the political control, which is actually prevalent across the country. Um,
mm,
uh, our not our concern should be with everybody, and it is, but in terms of what people associate with the Cape Flats is the scourge of the drug
mm,
trade that is actually protected by gangs. The
mm,
casualties in it, besides the casualty of the drug trade itself, the
mm,
casualties that the youngsters that are growing up in our midst in the Cape Flats, and actually, the same thing is duplicating itself in KwaZulu Natal.
mm,
Where youngsters can't go and live the way they're supposed to on the street. They can't go play
mm,
football or cricket the way. I mean, apartheid was bad. It can never. But the period that we were in was a place where we know we were oppressed, but
mm,
the shooting was going to happen from the police if they trying to shoot our parents that's trying to do something, but not
mm,
from the people around in the street. What happens now is that the gangsters say they're fighting each other, but they don't care whether the children are in the middle. In fact, the grip of fear, we believe, where they want people to say, don't tolerate another group in the area because otherwise your children are going to have a problem. So it's
mm,
that sort of thing that permeates our society.
mm.
I hope it starts shedding some light.
No, no, definitely. So if we zoom into the first aspect that we spoke about, and I want to link that first aspect, the 3 points, but on the first one, the drug cartel that basically lifts up the gang industry or gang sector. This is something that has plagued the Cape Flats for a very long time. The question is from a political perspective, what do you think that can be done to help curb it? Because what we see playing out, at least on a media, in the media, when there is an escalation of violence, on the one side you have people saying, no, 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 but this is a national function, and then you go to flip back and you say, yeah, but this needs to be done by local or provincial government, and the football gets passed. The net effect of that is that the ordinary people, their lived conditions is not changing. And so my question is part of the challenge is that young people, the flow of young people into the gangs is not necessarily being stopped through having other sort of programs that I think will captivate our youth, and give them other options and other opportunities. And so there's obviously a myriad of ways in which we can look at how do we tackle the flow of young people into gangsterism. From PAGAD's perspective, do you feel that there's been a lack of political will just generally to actually deal with the gang crisis, but on a holistic level and not necessarily just from a SAPS based perspective?
Yeah, look, SEPs, with respect, is also driven politically. Yes, they're badly driven politically, but they're still driven politically because over the years we know that. Let's first talk SEPs. SEPs have the responsibility to get rid of crime,
Mm,
including the issue of gangsterism and drugs. The problem happens when you have an acceptance, and we're talking politically first, that all that sepsis brief is to keep crime under control, not to
mm,
eliminate it. I mean, we've heard it so many times. What
mm,
is crime under control? Is it that we are okay that this drug dealer or this gangster is not going to do anything against the state? Or he's not killing more people than we feel comfortable to protect. If the rate of killing in the Cape Flats, like at the moment, is 7 per day, if it becomes 7 in one particular area, then there's a problem. Guys, just keep it spread along the Western Cape. That's what the problem is that when SAPS thinks it's okay for you to manage crime, we have a problem. And that is when political heads are okay with it. The second thing is that when there's competition between political parties, as we have here in the Cape, it actually still speaks to political parties who are not actually interested in the community that it's supposed to serve. For certainly, if for 8 or 12 years you're complaining, I can't do what I need to do because I don't have national political clout, then why are you telling the people every time before election that if you vote me into the Western Cape, I'll make it the best it can be? It doesn't make any sense. You have to be upfront with people to say, guys, I'm not going to do that. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is the people who are running the city of Cape Town, they justify spending millions in the safety sector because they claim they're going to improve the number of people on the ground that will see to the safety, but they don't see to the safety on the Cape Flats. They see to the safety in the areas that are more affluent, that can actually see to their own security. Now, and we know what we're talking about here. So we are tired of politicians telling us that they trying to solve the problem, because we know they're not. They're only looking for political gain. It's therefore that we are asking communities to say, you know what? Let's not wait for the politicians to solve the problem. If we say we have a program and we are going to strengthen ourselves, and then we'll go to the politicians to say, guys, this is how we want you to do it. Why are we saying this? Of an overall worldwide political perspective, we must understand that every place where there was vibrant youth, and vibrant youth was followed by either an infiltration by counter-revolutionary forces and including fighting, or a proliferation of drugs so that the youth can be numbed, and the whole family structure and everything can be diverted. Now, this was what happened in Cape Town, and this is what continues to happen. Now, once that bug has bitten, they don't even worry about the reason why it was started. The destruction is there, but there is no will, not from local, not from provincial, and not from national, to solve the problem, because it helps them. And it helps them in two ways. We have to say it. It helps them in two ways. If your families are so busy trying to defend themselves, and so busy trying to make a living just to stop people from spending all the money on drugs, or to have some income just for bread because the youngster or the father has stolen all the money for drugs, then they're not going to have time to think about the next political outcome. And that's what political parties thrive on. These are the things that we've got to change.
So that was Brother Cassiem Parker. There's so much more. We could possibly still talk about permutations with regards to what are the actual solutions. And so hopefully we'll have him back to unpack those. But time is limited. So shukran so much, Brother Cassiem. And inshallah, let's chat again.
Jazakallah. Shukran to you.
Assalamu alaikum wa
Assalamu alaikum.
rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.